Most famous fiction author in history and author of Harry Potter and seller of over 500 million books, JK Rowling needs no introduction, so I'm gonna leave it at that. So without wasting any time, let's get into the 5 tips that JK Rowling has given us to help with our writing. But if you're new here and you love stories and storytelling tips, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll keep you updated with future videos. Yoo-hoo! So here are the 5 tips. The first tip comes from something she tweeted where she said, "Don't write me, write like you." When I was 14 years old, I decided that I wanted to write like JK Rowling because Harry Potter was basically the only thing that I'd read, and I thought it was magnificent, it was perfection, there was absolutely nothing that you could change about it that would make it better, and so I wanted to write exactly like her, and I tried to copy her writing voice exactly. And I probably don't need to tell you that I failed miserably. It doesn't take a genius to work out that 14-year-olds who have never read anything apart from Harry Potter and haven't written anything either are probably going to be pretty terrible writers. But to illustrate this point, let me say this.
The voice chooses the writer, Mr. Potter. That much has always been clear to those of us who have studied writing.
You can't just choose to write like JK Rowling, and you can't even learn to write like JK Rowling. Everyone has a unique voice that is completely unique. That's why I said it, it's unique. Your writing voice is like your hair colour or your eye colour, but it is not like your hair colour and your eye colour because it is buried deep within you. It's not visible unless you draw it out, and it has to be drawn out with time, dedication and care. And the only way to really coax out your writing voice is by reading. There is not a single person on the planet that would not be a much better writer if they were to read a lot. It's like Stephen King said, if you want to be a writer, you must do 2 things above all others: read a lot and write a lot. So by reading a lot, you develop your own unique writing voice. It's not wrong, it's just different, and it's not any worse or any better than JK Rowling's writing voice. That's you, that's who you are, that's your uniqueness coming out in your writing voice. It's like camels. Camels are all different, and people are also all different. And so we have to embrace that. I have a bit of an obsession with camels. I don't know why, but it's just something that has sprouted. Neil Gaiman wrote, "Start telling stories that only you can tell, because there'll always be better writers than you, and there'll always be smarter writers than you. There will always be people who are much better at doing this or doing that, but you are the only you." Tip number 2 is to never quit out of fear of rejection. Boy, is this a big one in my life and in millions and millions of other people's lives. I believe that there are literally millions of people who have given up on their dream because of fear of rejection. It is huge. Why so many? I think people generally work because they want to be successful at something, and if they don't become successful over a short period of time, they give up because they have the fear that if they put in all of this effort, it will be wasted and nothing will come of it. But much fewer people work because they want to create something that they're truly proud of, that they can look back and say, yes, I put my everything into that, and it became something beautiful, even if no one reads it. JK Rowling wrote, "The discipline involved in finishing a piece of creative work is something on which you can truly pride yourself." Recently, I've been feeling this fear of rejection as I've been creating videos, writing articles, writing my book. I feel like, what is the point? Because not many people are watching it or reading my articles, and I'm thinking like, is it worth it? Am I wasting my time? And actually, I'm not. But then I had this thought, if I created 100 videos and 100 blog posts, and I put all my effort and all my dedication and my soul into them, and no one read them, would that be so bad? Because I would have created something that I'm truly proud of, and the discipline that I would learn through that would be immeasurable compared to if I didn't do that. It would simply be worth it for that. If I had to choose between trying and knowing that I would fail, and not trying at all, then I would always choose to try, as long as it's something that I'm passionate about and that I want to actually create. Because I know that I will have achieved something that is rarer than rubies, and that is to achieve your potential. I'm not saying that I've already achieved it, but I'm saying with the things that I do every day, with writing, with reading, with exercising, studying, or socializing, in all of these areas, I can become better and better every day, and so I'll be closer and closer to my potential. When we reach our best, then there's not much else that we can do, but no one has ever really reached their best really. That's why I want to continue to get closer to my best in all of these things. Don't ever quit because of fear of rejection. 99% of the time it is an irrational fear. I believe no great accomplishment was ever achieved without patience, and I am on this journey with you. I'm not saying that I've achieved some great accomplishment. Basically, I write every day knowing that one day my writing will impact many people in a powerful way, and that's why I'm writing now, isn't it? Treat the present like it's the past. Tip number 3 is to expect rejections. Rejected! You were rejected! Here's how I see it. If someone rejects your work, then it's not because the work is bad, it's because it hasn't reached the right person yet. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was rejected 13 times before it was finally accepted, and I think we would all agree that it's not a bad book. It is perhaps the greatest children's book of all time, and so it was rejected 13 times. What does that tell you about rejections? So rejection does not indicate the quality of a book almost at all. But let me illustrate this with a further example. Imagine giving War and Peace by Tolstoy, a 1,200-page historical epic, to a romance writer. Let's call him Clive. There's no chance in the world that Clive would even read past the first page, because that's not something that he enjoys reading. He's a romantic. He's into those romantic novels, not true stories about war that happened hundreds of years ago. He couldn't care less about that kind of stuff. This book is not bad because Clive disliked it. It just hasn't reached the right person and the right target audience yet. So rejections are expected because the chance that your potential publisher will enjoy the kind of books that you read is very slim, actually. In fact, Stephen King's first novel, Carrie, was rejected 30 times before it was accepted and launched him into worldwide fame. Imagine if he had stopped at 29 and he thought, oh, no one enjoys reading my books. So don't stop trying. If you've spent a lot of time and effort and dedication into your novel, then the chances are that it's not bad. It just hasn't found the right person yet. It's just waiting for that person who needs to read it to read it. Tip number 4 is to write a lot. This is one of the reasons that I'm very thankful for this blog that I have, Realm of Writers. Check it out, because I'm able to write different things every day and in mass quantity, and I believe that is perhaps the most important thing, to write a lot of quantity, because quantity produces quality, as I've demonstrated in my previous video. So if you're a writer and you want to improve your writing, I recommend starting a blog. Even if no one really sees it, then it's just there to improve your writing ability, and that is really what I'm using my blog for at the moment, to write scripts for my videos and also just to practice my writing. And JK Rowling said, you have to resign yourself to wasting a lot of trees before you write anything really good. That's just how it is. It's like learning an instrument. You've got to be prepared for hitting the wrong notes occasionally, or quite a lot. In my experience of writing novels, about 2 to 3% of what I write I consider to be actually good, and the other 97% I consider terrible trash. Quantity is all about building up those 2 to 3% of what is actually good and deleting the rest. Basically, because of quantity, you're not only improving your writing through practice, because practice makes perfect, but you're also building up a vault of these 2 to 3% of your writing that is actually good, and that in the end will build up to become an actual novel. And the more quantity that you write, the higher that percentage is going to become. Because I feel like I'm very young writer, it's probably going to be a lot lower for me than for someone like Stephen King. But the more quantity that I produce, the higher percentage of that quantity is also going to be good. So it compounds. Not only through quantity are you gaining practice, but you're also increasing the chance that what you're writing is going to be good. So you're increasing the percentage efficiency as well as increasing the word count. That is why if you tend to write just a little bit more, then you tend to get a lot better. The 5th tip is to plan. Now this advice is much more subjective, and I believe it depends on what you're writing and what kind of writer you are. For example, when I write the scripts for my videos, I just write. I don't really think about what I'm writing too much. For example, when I was writing the script for what I'm saying now, the next sentence that is in my script I hadn't even thought of while I was writing the sentence that I'm speaking now. Essentially, this means that you don't really know what is coming in the next sentence or the next paragraph, or even you have no idea what is going to happen in the next chapter. The kind of writers that write like this are called gardeners, and Stephen King is perhaps the most famous gardener. He writes not even knowing how the book is going to end, what is going to happen in the next chapter. He has no idea. He just writes what happens to come into his imagination at the moment that he's writing. He just writes it down. Basically, that's how he's written all of his books. But he is an extreme example, and most writers aren't like that. Most writers fall somewhere in the middle of being a gardener and being an architect. And an architect is where you plan absolutely everything, every single detail of your novel or whatever you're writing, and you plan it so intricately that you know everything that is going to happen and every character voice and every place in your novel before you even start writing. And I believe JK Rowling is more at that extreme end of the spectrum. I am definitely more at the architect, and I do love to plan everything. I love the experience of thinking of ideas when I'm in the shower or when I'm just sitting at my desk just thinking. And most of my writing for my fantasy novel isn't actually writing, it's thinking. And actually, I don't think there's a difference between writing and thinking. I think they're the same thing. And so if you improve your thinking ability, then you will improve your writing ability. I write out a whole detailed synopsis and edit it regularly. I also write character profiles that go into detail about their past and their temperaments. I write the magic system, and I go into intense detail about how exactly it works. And I go into intense detail about the geographical locations and about all the places and the cultures. And I also enjoy spending a lot of time coming up with names. And strangely, that is one of the things that I enjoy the most about writing, coming up with names. So I love going into detail with fantasy. It helps me to know that what I'm creating is something that eventually, when it's finished, I'm going to be truly proud of, and not something that I can just whip up in an evening like a blog post or a script for a video. Yes, kochan tu schon tun ja kocha. My current system is to simply write quantity for my blog posts and to just let my imagination run wild for my fantasy book. I perhaps write on average about 500 words for my book every week. That is not very much, but it is backed up by the quantity that I produce in my blog posts. And this is essentially what JK Rowling did, because she spent her entire commutes home from work in the train thinking of ideas for her novel. And basically 5 years of that, and you've got Harry Potter. She spent a long time every single day just thinking of ideas. And that is why she was able to have all of these fascinating ideas in her book. And when she got an idea, she would run home and write them all down in her notebook before she forgot them. I think many writers crowd out their time with sheer quantity, whereas they don't leave time to actually think about ideas for their story. And while quantity is the most important thing, I believe thinking of ideas is also a vital part of it. And basically to just use the time that you have in the shower or on the toilet, time that would otherwise be wasted just thinking about ideas and how you could change certain things in your story to make it better. I don't know, some people might agree with me. It certainly works for me, but it might not work for you. It depends completely on what kind of person you are and what you're writing. But those are my 5 tips. If you found this video useful and you want to join a realm of writers, consider subscribing and hitting the bell, and comment what is your favourite Harry Potter book. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.